Welcome, everyone. Thanks so much for joining us today. I have a really exciting guest. We are chatting with Kate Crocco, and she is a mindset and success coach for online entrepreneurs and has a really incredible offline business as well that I'm excited to introduce to you. So welcome, Kate. Thank you so much for coming.
Thank you so much for having me, Alyssa.
I am so excited to introduce everyone to you because I think mindset around being an online business owner is something that we can kind of either be all in or all out with. And I love that you kind of take an integrated approach to having that in your business, without being completely woo-woo and, and manifesting if that's not what you're into, even though I'm totally down with all of that. But some people are not. So I'd love for you to kind of tell us a little bit more about you and what you do,
Sure.
and kind of some of the exciting things that are happening in your world in 2017.
Awesome. Well, again, thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here and to chat with you. So I'm a confidence and mindset coach for female entrepreneurs, and I actually started as a psychotherapist.
Wow.
So I, went to school. I wanted to be a therapist, and I worked in some hospitals and clinics for a while and had some frustrations because I just wanted to work with my clients. And there was a lot of other stuff that comes with it when you work in like a clinic environment.
Mm-hmm.
So I said, you know what? I know I'm really young, but I'm just going to research how to start a business and I'm just going to start a business. Why not? So I started my therapy practice. I think I was around 28.
Wow.
And yeah, I was 28, and I had this plan that, hopefully I'd be able to leave my 9-to-5 within like a year, and things just fell into place. And I was actually able to leave my 9-to-5 within 3 months.
Wow.
So what I did was I would see clients every Saturday, and I just booked myself solid. So I would start at like 7 a.m., go till like 7 p.m.
Wow.
But it was really worth it. Like, I wouldn't suggest it to everyone. You might burn out.
Real quick.
Totally. But it was worth it because I was able to match my salary and just leave my job right away. And then I was introduced to the online space. I can't exactly remember how, but someone introduced me to Marie Forleo.
My main girl.
Did you do B-School?
No, I didn't,
No,
but
okay.
I always wanted to when I was like back in the day. But I'm just obsessed with her kind of whole philosophy around being in really showing up authentically as a business owner, which is so cool.
Totally. And once I was introduced to her videos, her free content, I was hooked. And I said, I don't really probably need B-School because I have a local business, but I'm just going to take it just for fun because I love to learn. And through that, I was introduced into the world of online coaching, online businesses, and like a whole series.
Down the rabbit hole, right?
Yep. That's basically it. Like, I started coaching people on how to open therapy practices. I started hosting workshops, and then I just really realized that a lot of it was mindset, and a lot of these women who were coming to me, and, I was giving them tips and coaching them on how to open these businesses. Like, they had the skills, like they knew exactly what to do, but what was really holding them back from getting clients, getting booked out, was the confidence and the mindset. So yeah, a lot of them were coming to me with confidence issues, mindset issues, fears of selling themselves, fears of booking their practices, fears of leaving their jobs, like all these different things that kept coming up. And I realized confidence and mindset are huge pieces in business. So why don't I really broaden this to all different types of entrepreneurs? And, I put it out there. I started working towards this coaching business, and I was hoping that it would be sort of like a side hustle. Like, I thought I would be doing my therapy practice forever. But little by little, it just started to grow and grow and grow. And actually, officially in April, this past April, just a few months ago, I closed the doors of my therapy practice.
Wow.
100%, which was very bittersweet for me because I love the clients that I was working with, but it came at a perfect time because I'm a new mom. I just had a baby actually middle of April.
Wow, congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you. And I just kept feeling this nudge, like I need to just be home. Like I need to be home with her. I need to figure it out. And I'm a true believer that everything happens for a reason and everything works out the way it's supposed to work out. So I had slowly been like cutting down my therapy practice.
Okay.
Little by little. And by April, I think I had like, when I officially closed it, I had like 3 clients left.
Wow. And it must be hard to kind of cut the cord, no pun intended, with those. Were they longtime clients or how did that work?
Yeah, some of them were long time, but actually a couple of those clients ended up becoming really interested in business. Oh, wow. And a couple of them I'm still coaching now. So it worked out really nice.
Online. Okay, amazing. I love that.
Yeah.
So I'd love to kind of know more about, your philosophy around confidence as an online entrepreneur, because I think it is such a huge part that we kind of don't talk about. And especially if you feel like myself, if you feel more like an introverted personality, and you kind of feel like the big players have that kind of big personality that just shows up in a room, and you might feel like you don't have the kind of it factor to be visible and to show up online the way that you want to. So how does confidence kind of play into all that?
Yeah. Well, I like to say is you can't force it. It's not something you're born with. It's something that's you continually have to practice. Mm-hmm. And I think the main way to grow your confidence is through consistency. So doing things over and over and over again. And little by little, it starts to get a little bit easier. Like when I first started my online business, this was October of 2015. I was so fearful of cameras. That's when I think Periscope was big, and that other online, like, I can't remember the name of it, but it was a video like conferencing thing, and people would do like talk shows.
Oh, I think I know what you're talking about.
I don't know why the name split me.
I don't know what it's called either.
Yeah.
But Periscope, that's so funny. I haven't thought about Periscope in a while.
Yeah. So those 2 things were like huge. And I remember my coaches saying to me, like, if you want to book clients, like you've got to get on video. You've got to be recording videos, going on Periscope, I don't even think Facebook Live was a thing yet. I think it was a thing like that winter. So I was like petrified. And I remember telling myself, all right, I know, because I help people with confidence, like the only way to get over this fear is to start somewhere and to practice. So I got my little laptop set up, and I said, I'm not going to do something live. I'm just going to do something pre-recorded. And I literally had like everything that I was going to say, like written out on a Post-it note on my computer.
Amazing.
And I was like, basically like reading it word for word, recording. And at that time we had gotten a puppy. Our puppy was probably like 8 months old or so. And he was like a terror. So I went out to the store. I got him all these new bones, new toys. I really wanted to make this work. I was determined. Set him up on the couch with it, put out my little laptop, had everything written down that I was going to say, hit record, started recording. And out of nowhere, I hear him in the background and he's choking.
Oh God. Oh my God.
Choking.
The new bone.
It was actually between the bone and one of the toys that he had like chewed apart all these strings in a little amount of time. And to this day, like back then I was like so upset because I had gotten to a certain point in the video already. Yeah. And now I just laugh about it. And I say like that broke the ice. And I actually have that video up on my YouTube channel.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
I love that.
Just to keep it there so that people could see like everyone starts somewhere.
Yeah. Yeah, that's so interesting because I think, it's so easy to compare yourself to the Marie Forleos of the world who have this beautiful set and know, editors and know what they're going to say. And I did, a similar thing when I first started recording videos. I had, my hair and makeup looked absolutely perfect and I knew exactly what I was going to talk about. And I planned it months, in the shower, like I was practicing. But I think we kind of do all these things to kind of prepare as just a kind of a way of procrastinating, just
Totally.
starting and doing it. Which, I mean, I'm sure you have an opinion on procrastination and mindset because I know so many of us, and I am like a recovering procrastinator. So I'm my first to raise my hand. But procrastination used to almost be like a badge of honor. And I would say, well, I work really well under pressure.
Yeah.
And even in university, I was always late with my papers, or would stay up the night before. And I'd say, well, I get my best work done when I'm, when I can see the deadline. But really, I know so much of that was my mindset and fear around, around whatever I was doing, whether it's, in my business or even just writing, getting a paper in.
Totally. No, I completely understand. I would do the same thing. I would say I only get an A if I stay up 24 hours straight the night before.
It's crazy how we kind of set these, like, when you start to say it out loud, like obviously
Yeah.
that was kind of my catchphrase. I work well under pressure. And it becomes like your story around, and it's all based around this sort of bad habit.
Totally.
So
Yeah.
how much of procrastination is your mindset?
Oh, I think 100%.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I think procrastination is your mindset, because there's some type of fear or some reason why you want to put it off.
Yeah.
I think we also fear, I think some people are afraid of like having free time, like having space that's unstructured
Mm-hmm.
or that is unstructured. Like when you have that free time, like what am I going to do with it? So they fill their time with, all these other things, and then they put off that main thing that they know needs to be done. And then they're so stressed out because, it's last minute.
Weighing on them.
Exactly. And that's the other thing is I always tell people, if you have something on your to-do list or something that you're really just dreading, do that thing first.
Yeah.
Because the amount of time and also mental space it takes up in your brain, like you could have had that thing done like weeks ago.
Yeah.
And I've learned that little by little. Like I think it's sort of, I started to identify it when I was in grad school because I saw that pattern of like every, when we had like our finals and our midterms, like during that time, I was always getting sick and
Mm-hmm.
like losing weight and like just like feeling like lethargic, like
Yeah.
every single time we had finals and midterms. And it was because I was just cramming
Yeah.
and stressing myself out for no reason. And I remember like, again, like during grad school, I started to identify like this is a pattern and this is not a healthy pattern. Like I can't be this way when I have a job someday, if I own a business someday. And what I found was once I identified it, that all that time, again, that I would spend like worrying about this thing, thinking about it, like writing notes, writing myself reminders and
Yeah.
post-its or writing lists of lists, like I could have had it done.
Yeah. Of course. So crazy. And I think another thing that really plays into that, and this was true for me as well, is that I was a pretty big perfectionist. And I kind of realized how I kind of thought that was a good thing before. But as soon as you become a business owner, you realize you got to throw that shit out the window
Oh
because
yeah.
I would have never gotten anything done. And especially in the beginning, like you say, you have to be consistent. And that's the only way that you can get better at what you're doing. But what do you say to people who are perfectionists, and how do you kind of get over that and start putting out things that you don't feel 100% with in order to kind of grow and evolve?
I think first of all, like you're never going to be ready enough. Like
Right.
you always think once I get to this place or that place, then I'll be ready. Like once my site is beautiful, once my copy is beautiful,
Yeah.
once I lose 10 pounds, once I have the perfect pictures done or branding done, then I'll be ready. But I think what happens is people get all of those things and then they're disappointed even more because they're there and then they're like, crap, like I'm still not ready.
Yeah.
And that's what that's a lot of women come to me for mindset help with that, because that's where they get stuck. Like then they'll keep, tweaking their brand, tweaking their site, their copy. And it's like a form of like procrastination and a form of distraction that really holds them back from getting to their goals. So I say again, like just start before you're ready. And I know it's so easy to say that, but break it down into something really small. So again, like if you want to, if you're fearful of video, like just go. Actually, I started with my iPhone. Like I would just record myself talking on my iPhone. I had to get used to hearing myself and like,
yes.
that dreaded, like I always like, I usually don't listen to any replays of things that I do because I'm like, oh God, my voice.
Yeah. It's crazy when you hear it. And it's funny how you kind of become used to it, but I always feel like I sound different than I do.
Yeah. So I tell people just start recording yourself on your phone, like little by little, or maybe like take a video of yourself doing something fun and like send it to a family member or a friend. And then maybe record a video on your computer and think about sharing it with someone. And then little by little, like you can't force it. If you force it, you could almost like sort of traumatize yourself. And if you're not ready to do something, then, you're going to even be harder on yourself because you're going to pick it apart. Like I could have done this, I could have done that.
Right.
So just really start with baby steps.
And are there things that people can do to sort of get clear on what's like the root of that fear? So let's say you have this real fear around being more visible or showing up on video, but they don't know why. It's not like they peed their pants public speaking or anything obvious. Is there a way to kind of start to dig through that and figure out what the real reason is?
Yeah, it takes a while. Like it's usually not evident right away, and it's usually not evident until they throw themselves into it and they start doing whatever scares them. Because then they'll say like, I don't know why. Like I don't know why I'm so scared to get onto video. And I'll say, all right, well, that's okay. Like you don't need to know why right away, but let's just practice. Let's just start little by little. And then once they start practicing, those thoughts, those old feelings start to come up. And then we see, like actually one of my clients, a big piece of hers, even just getting visible online, like posting content, probably 4 or 5 sessions in, we uncovered that it went back to 8th grade.
Wow.
And it went back to some boy like teasing her about something. And it was just crazy because we worked on that. We processed that, talked about, like, was that really, what happened? Like, was that really rational? Like to feel that way after, or, it just sort of helped for her to be able to break that apart and see where that came from. And then she was able to get really visible. And again, it doesn't happen overnight. It was practiced little by little. So she'd start posting a little bit more, and then, be asked to be interviewed or be guest experts for things. And now she's an amazing, incredible business owner, and she's visible probably even more than me.
Yeah, amazing.
Yeah.
So speaking of practicing and, consistency and having a routine, do you have, and maybe it's changed now that you have a little baby, but do you have kind of a morning routine or daily routine in any way that kind of preps you for not only just being, having the headspace and not being stressed out, but really prepares you to be a good business owner?
Yeah, so routine has definitely changed. So I'll start with like the old routine. The old routine was more of a routine. But I would wake up, my husband actually, he works almost 2 hours away from our home. So we both get up very early, and it would start around 5:30.
Wow.
And I'd take the dog out, then the dog would come into bed with me, we'd snuggle, I'd have my coffee in bed, and I would do like my morning devotional. And I
Okay.
do some gratitude practice, really just try to get myself grounded for the day. Because, you know, people always used to say like, oh, so-and-so got up on the wrong side of the bed. And I think, you know, for myself personally, if I were to feel really rushed in the morning and not have that time alone, I wouldn't be able to show up as my best self. So for me, it's like having that sort of like space to be able to just wake up leisurely, have my coffee, like not feel rushed, and then start the day. And nowadays is a little bit different. It tends to, I try to do the same thing, but it tends to change little by little with the baby. And once I think I have a routine back, then it changes again.
Then she changes. Yeah.
Yep.
Oh, that's so interesting. So how do you stay grounded and you know, give yourself that space now that you have the baby?
Yeah. So the big thing is asking for help. Really just asking for help, because at first it was not easy.
Yeah.
You know, I said, I can do this all on my own. Like, I don't need help. So, you know, just sort of putting that aside and being able to say like, I need help. I can't do this on my own. Like right now, my mom is here. She's watching the baby. Because then you have space to do those things like you used to do.
Yeah.
So, you know, I can sit and I can read my devotional, and that's really what keeps me grounded. It's my prayers. You know, also just being like doing things, like doing something for myself. Like if it's reading a little bit, or, you know, reaching out to friends, or, you know, doing normal things. Like after this, I'm going to go meet a friend for lunch, like taking
normal things.
You know, the things that not all entrepreneurs do.
Yeah.
And I think all of us went into this work of owning our own business because we wanted freedom.
Yeah.
And before going into the business, we saw, you know, all these people on social media with like coconut water in their hands, sipping on the beach.
Yeah.
I think you had mentioned
exactly.
something about that too. Like looking like it's so effortless. And then you dive into business and it's like, oh my goodness, I'm actually working twice as much as I was before.
Yeah. So, I mean, that totally translates into the business world, just simply asking for help. And I know a lot of my clients wear, you know, that kind of like a badge of honor. Like they don't want to ask for help. They've said to me so many times, I hear this like all the time, if I want it done right, I have to do it myself.
Yeah.
And, you know, nobody cares about my business the way I do. And it just never comes out right. And I do feel like a lot of that is kind of bullshit.
Yeah.
And there are, I mean, because there are incredible people out there that can help you, for sure. So, you know, why do we have a hard time asking for help as, you know, maybe as women or as business owners? And what's the best way to sort of start it? You know, you don't need to have someone who's like your co-owner with you or anything, but how do you start kind of asking for help? And do you have any advice on like what the first things that people should ask for in their business?
I think it all comes down to control. And again, like that perfectionist mindset of, you know, I have to do this, like I can do it right. No one else can do it as good as I can do it.
Yeah.
It's funny because as women, like we have confidence issues, but then we also are on this other end where we believe like we do everything the best for ourselves.
Yeah.
And I mean, I think that's a normal feeling. I think it's normal to experience that. I know personally I did, and it took a while for me to be able to pass things off to people and say like, you know what, I need systems in my business. You know, I can't do everything. I need to just show up and do what I'm good at, which is coaching, connecting with people, but all that other stuff, like I need other people to help me. And again, it doesn't happen overnight. It's really just practicing little by little, like asking, you know, it could be something as simple as someone asking a relative, like, hey, can you help me with this?
Yeah.
Or can you look this over for me? And then, you know, maybe someone, you know, the one thing I always say is like, when you need help with systems in your business, hire someone to help you before you're ready,
Yeah.
before you feel like you actually need it.
When you're in
Because
too deep.
exactly. And that's what happens is people are in way too deep, and then their business just sort of collapses because they're just too far in.
So another thing that I see really often, speaking of that, is people, especially with a lot of women whose businesses grow really quickly, quicker than they expected. And then they're at this place where they don't have the systems, or they're not ready to ask for help, but they still want their business to grow. And I talk to people in this place a lot, and I know that before I can ever help them, start setting up systems or automation, or helping them get the systems in place to hire a team that can really work well, and have the confidence to do the job, how you want it done, so that you don't kind of self-sabotage, and don't hire someone and then don't tell them what you want, and then they don't do a good job, and then it doesn't work. I know that before we can set up any of that, we have to kind of get to the root of why, there's clearly a disconnect here between them wanting to grow and them wanting to kind of stay where they are because they don't have space to grow.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think there's a misconception that like the more your business grows, the less time you have.
Mm-hmm.
But it's really the other way around. Like the more your business grows, the more time you're going to have, because first of all, you'll be making more money. Second, you can hire people like yourself to help create systems, set things up. You can hire a team to do things for you. And when you get to do that, you have more space to have a life.
Yeah.
And
also to do the things that you are really good at.
exactly.
And that's what I freaking love about the people that I coach, that they have this thing that I am, they're just so excited to share with the world, or they're so passionate about. But as our business grows, we start to take on more, especially as a solopreneur. And yet now you're the accountant and the marketer and all of this. And you sort of move away from that thing that is what I feel like you're here to do.
Mm-hmm.
And when you talk about it, nobody can help themselves but listen. So maybe is there a fear around doing that, and going a little bigger and putting your passion out there, and people seeing it and taking notice?
Yeah, I think people also fear success. Because again, like, what will my life look like if I am successful? If
Right.
I am like, will I not have time for and again, I think it's like the time thing is such a huge block with people. They think like
So interesting.
like more success equals less time. But if you think about like Beyonce or Oprah or like the president, like they get everything done. And
Yeah.
they have just as much time as us, and they're making like huge things happen. So really it's the more success you create in your life and business, the more time you have. But I also think people are scared of success because of how it could change like relationships in their life. I see that as a block with some people who come to me. They're fearful that, if their business gets really successful, like if they're even more visible online, like their friends, their family, they're going to judge them. They're like going to think a certain way about them. Also, some women are fearful of making money. They're fearful of, making more money than their partner.
Yeah.
And I've seen that happen too, where a lot of women, they just like keep themselves small because how will that change the dynamic in my relationship if I'm making more, or I'm making twice as much as my partner?
Yeah. Really interesting. So it is, very much a process of getting to the root of what's kind of holding you back, and being honest with yourself, I guess, must be a huge part of your process. I'm sure you hear the craziest stuff. I love I love that. So, I mean, the other thing that I want to talk to you about is visibility. And I know we sort of touched on this a little bit more, but I know you have a visibility workbook and some other really cool resources for people to kind of, get deeper into why you don't want to be visible, or why you're scared of it, or maybe you do want to be, but you have those blocks. can you tell us like a bit more about that, or where we can get it and all of
Yeah.
that good stuff?
Yeah. I will send you the link and you can
Amazing.
post that. But yeah, the workbook really, it's actually sort of a case study. So it starts as a case study and it takes people through my own process, like what I experienced when I first
Okay.
started this business. And then I sort of share like the tips and tricks that worked for me. And the main thing is, again, consistency, because people get visible, like they step out of their comfort zone,
Yeah.
it's really hard. And, let's just say they go online and they do some type of like a Facebook Live, or they post somewhere and they hear crickets.
Yeah.
Then, it's so like invalidating, because they did something that was supposed to be good, was supposed to hopefully give them some type of result, and they see that it hasn't brought anything. So they start to feel like even a little bit worse. But I tell people, like, you've got to just do something over and over and over again to see any type of result. And it could take, 30 days, it could take 60 days, it could take a year. Like, you just don't know. But the people who end up quitting and not succeeding are the ones, they quit way too quickly.
Yeah.
They just, are, for some reason, they can't stick it out. And the ones that do end up, like, let's say like the Oprah and Marie Forleo, like they've all, failed, and they've had, things happen to them that were big setbacks, and they didn't let that hold them back. Like, they just kept going. And, a lot of like the big entrepreneurs in the world, they weren't like the smartest people. Like, some of them, don't even have college degrees. Some people, maybe grew up and they didn't have any money at all. So they're like, it doesn't matter like where you come from.
Yeah.
Anyone can find success. I truly believe that. I don't think that you need a college education, or, you need a lot of money to start. Anyone can find success.
So cool. And that's kind of what the Game Changer series is about. It's about kind of shining a light on the fact that there are so many people online saying, how I made 6 figures in 6 months and got my first paying client within my first day online.
Yeah.
So we're surrounded by these really amazing marketing, materials, but so much of what we do and so much of what being an entrepreneur is just continuing to make mistakes and learn from those mistakes, and surround yourself with people who are on the same journey as you or can support you. So I know you have kind of a mastermind, or the Inner Circle Business Incubator.
Yeah.
Can tell me a bit more about that, and what sort of amazing stuff is going on in there, because I know there's some really cool things happening.
Thank you. Yeah. So that's the one thing that I really noticed, again, working with my clients, is that they need accountability. Like, that's huge. And
Yeah.
some people, some people don't always need coaching all the time. Like, they really just need someone to keep them accountable. So that's what the Inner Circle is all about. I have a group of women, I think there's a little bit over 20 now. And each week, every Monday, I show up for office hours, and we do that via Facebook Live. And
so cool.
yeah, it's a really great way for them to start their week, to get themselves in a good mindset, to really just clear out whatever happened maybe over the weekend or at the end of the past week. So we do that. And then twice a month, we have group coaching calls, which are pretty amazing, because the ladies have all, like, there's a 6-month minimum to be in the program. And that's because I want people to really form relationships. I don't want to see people like coming and going all the time. So the women who are in there, like, they are really tight. They are really, really comfortable with each other. So there's weeks where we get on the group call and there's people crying, like, things get really real.
Wow.
Because they are looking for help. They're looking for support, and, they feel that comfortable with each other. So I'll do coaching one-to-one with people on the group call. And then what we'll do is we'll have other people chime in and
Amazing.
unmute the microphones. People chime in, and they really get a lot from that. And then I also have guest experts who come in once a month and they teach on certain topics.
So cool.
Thank you.
And it's so transformative and something that I really had to work on in my business, because especially when you work online, it can be very isolating and you can be behind your computer all day. You don't have coworkers to kind of, chat with or, or whatever, go to lunch with and all of that stuff. But having, girlfriends or other people who are online entrepreneurs and going through what you're going through is just such an amazing resource. And sometimes it's hard to find.
Yeah.
So
and
that's so cool.
I think it's so powerful when you can hear someone say, like, I'm going through that too, or I've been there before and I got out of that before. And that's really what it's all about.
I love that so much. So I will post the link to the Inner Circle Business Incubator as well. I just think that's such a cool way to kind of, I love that there's the 6-month minimum, because you kind of form that relationship without having to feel like, you have to reach out kind of to someone that you don't really know. And it's almost like dating or something, like, hey, you want to be friends?
Totally.
I love that so much. Well, thank you so much for coming. And I'm so excited to kind of see a little bit more about where this business is going for you, because now you are all online, girlfriend, and I'm sure we'll only be seeing more of you. Thanks so much for coming.
Thank you for having me.
You're so welcome. Chat soon.
Bye-bye.